Hey guys, Sean's in the Connection Machine, aka the Insurance Doctor. This is live number 33, I believe, on the year. And again, we are talking about the topic, the discussion you're going to hear is dads who are entrepreneurs. So, those that are with us today, you're either on my personal page, my guest page, my group, or YouTube. Make sure you go over to my YouTube channel because it's going to be very key to make sure that you can follow along and stay with us the entire time because we're going to be on Facebook for a short period of time, only about 5 minutes. So make sure you subscribe and you're going to watch live on my YouTube channel. Make sure you're there. If you are watching us now, please drop a comment where you're watching us from. Share this live. We want to help as many people as possible. Ask questions. Drop them in the comments below. You might get a couple answers here and there, but most of them will be at the end of our conversation. And make sure that you sit back, listen, take notes, have your coffee, have your breakfast. But also, I want to hear from you after this live, after this conversation, if you implemented, you took action with any of the ideas that we're going to share with you today. So I want to bring on my guest. Let me take this off and bring on, what's going on, Sean Shallis? How are you?
What's up, Sean? How are you, brother?
Great to see you on this. This is a cooler Saturday in New Jersey compared to the last few days, right?
Yeah, it's only like 92 degrees.
It's not 100, feeling like 110,
Right.
like we're in Arizona or something. I don't get it.
All I know is I was on my bike at 7:30 this morning because I'm saying I'm not going to be doing this at 100 degrees.
No,
So.
you're a smart man. I think you get smart with age, right? When you're younger, you're like,
right. I'll do it later. No later.
Let's do it now. Get it over with.
Yeah.
So you've been on before. You're an awesome guest. Lots of value, lots of knowledge. Just remind people who you are and what you do so we can get our conversation going.
Sean, it's such a great, lead in. And actually, recently I've kind of learned that, when people say, hey, what do you do? Tell us what you do. You hear everybody say, hey, and I could tell you, I'll say, hey, Sean, a man of faith, I'm a loving husband, a caring father, and I'm an entrepreneur too. And, it sounds like somebody read my tombstone, for Christ's sakes. The problem is I'm still here. Like, I'm still alive. I'm still here, and really what's more important is, what I do or what I believe, I think is more important so that people understand that they don't really care how you do it. They care what you believe in. And, for me, what I do, what the fact is that, because I have a wife, children, friends, family, and I have a strong faith and a real strong self-confidence that I work on every day, that actually drives my passion to actually become an entrepreneur. And really, the thing that we're working on right now is we are the world's only consumer direct real estate marketing and coaching company. At 10X Real Estate Marketing and Coaching, we believe that every legacy starts with a home. And that homeowner, when they approach us, they're looking for our help to coach them through the real estate process. And what we give them is the strategies, the tools, the systems, and the coaching that either they can sell it on their own, we could do it with them, or we can do it for them. And any one of those is fine for us. But the reality is we want to make it so that the homeowner can actually sell it without paying expensive fees and risking their family's equity or their personal safety as a vulnerable for sale by owner. But we want to give them the tools to do it. And until now, homeowners really only had two choices. You either sold it with your realtor or you sold it on your own. There really wasn't an in-between. We decided, it's time to shift the paradigm and time to change it. In a 100-year-old industry, real estate is the oldest industry next to prostitution. And I argue that real estate is older because they had to do it somewhere. So somebody had to sell them a building to do it in. And you know what? It's time that we shift that paradigm and really give it back to the people. So what we're doing is we're giving the families and the individuals the same secret strategies and systems and platforms and the service providers that we use to sell for $500 million, except we're giving to them directly. And then we coach them through the process, all the way through the process, from the time it starts until the time they close. And we even have companies that will actually provide that whole service for you, or you could do it on your own, whichever is the most, whichever you want to do. And I think one of the most powerful things that we're doing right now is our coaching is 100% free. I mean, I've paid $1.5 million, probably $1.5 million. I can't tell you how many hundreds of hours to coach and train myself and my staff. And our certified coaches all have decades of experience that are going to be one-on-one coaches and help walk them through the process. And then the best part is we've actually got it now to where, one of the most vulnerable things is inviting people into your home to try it on your own and try to save some money, except that you have to put your cell phone, your email address, and all that stuff on the internet. After that transaction is over, all that information is out there, and
Mm.
anybody can find you or your family. And Sean, do you really want to have somebody walking in your family if you don't know who they are or what they're doing or they're not vetted? I don't. I have kids. I'm a father. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a wife. So what we've actually done is we've created a product called CS2, which is our communication strategy system, where you can actually communicate directly with the buyers and the consumers and sell your house and never give them your cell phone number and never give them your email address, which is really and here's the best part. If you try to sell with a realtor, 38% of the time that deal blows up on average, which most people don't know. That's a dirty little secret that realtors don't want to tell you. If you try it as a for sale by owner, it's more like 40%, and that's just lack of experience and lack of knowledge. But we believe that if you have a coach and you have the proper systems and the strategies and the tools that we've been using, that we can actually take you through the process from start to finish. And we're so confident we can do it. We give you a 100% money back guarantee that if you don't sell your house, we'll either do it for you or we'll help you do it, or we'll actually make you an offer to buy your house. 100% guaranteed that you'll actually sell your house. And by the way, 100% guaranteed that you will never give away your personal information out into the internet space. So, Sean, that's who we are. That's what we believe. Hopefully that answers the question. I know it's a long-winded answer, but sometimes I think it's more important that people understand who you are versus who you're being, you know.
And I definitely appreciate it. I enjoy listening to how those that would how they introduce themselves. And if I was going to share what you just said, it would have been botched. It's not passionate. It's not. You didn't just say, "Hey, I'm a realtor with X, Y, and Z company." You actually talked about a lot of variety, a lot of things that you can do for somebody, how you're helping others. These are important things, and that's something to take note for those that are watching. Yes, we are talking about dads who are entrepreneurs. Today we have a realtor, a monster as far as in the world of real estate and coaching, and we're going to definitely drop some value. And if you haven't already jumped over to YouTube, subscribe and hit that and watch us over at YouTube, because we're leaving Facebook and the group. So make sure you go over as soon as possible, because you're bouncing out right now. And then we're going to continue our conversation, because I believe the value that we bring consistently over time is the best way of marketing. And
Amen to that.
it's free, and anyone can do this. I'm not no guru about doing these lives. I've done a lot of them. I know, and I'm more confident because of all the time and the experience that I've been putting my time in doing these. But I know the value. We're not sitting there spitting up our services or our products. We're going to provide things. And before we even got started, it's great. Sean, and we have different Sean the way we spell it,
Sean squared.
conversation, but we have Sean squared. I have girls. I'm a girl dad. He's a girl dad. How has that changed you when you first started doing real estate? Because you've been in real estate over 25 years, so you probably
Yep.
had, a good 10 years plus without kids. How
Yep.
were you then compared to what you are today?
I'm complete. I would say that. I'm a big fan of Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. I'm also in that, and I'm going to circle back to that in a second, but I'm also a big fan of coaches. I believe that everybody should have a coach. I have not one, but several. And one of the things that, my coaches told me, I got started in the real estate business. I was in my 30s. I just turned 55. So I got started when, it's been just about 30 something, 33 years or so, because of when I got out of the army. And, one of my coaches said to me, and it frustrated the hell out of me, he said, you really won't start hitting your stride until you're in your 50s. And I was like, nah, bullshit. I'm, full of pea and vinegar and I know what I'm doing. I'm going to be a rock star. And I was a mover and a shaker. And then another coach said to me, he goes, I walked into, and I'll never forget this. I walked into what people join mastermind groups now, right? And you could pay 10,000, 5,000, 25,000. At that time in my life, this was 20 years ago, I was paying, I think it was $3,000 a quarter to be a part of this mastermind group. And it was about 60 of us. And my mentor stopped me on the way in the door. And I was the typical guy from Jersey with the DA haircut, the black leather blazer, and my black shirt, and he stops me at the door and he goes, you know what you need? You know what you need, Shallis? And I go, what's that, sir? He goes, you need to get married. I go, what? He goes, you need to get married. I go, what are you, out of your mind? He goes, no, think about it. He goes, you have a house, right? Almost paid for. You have a dog. You have a Saturday girl, a Tuesday girl, and a Friday girl. And you have a cleaning lady. And he goes, you even have an assistant. He said, so you really have no accountability. And he goes, but if you get married, you will get out of that rut of being in a plateau, because you'll have to raise your game in order to be able to do real estate, be a father, be a husband, be a man of faith, contribute to your community all at the same time. He goes, right now you're on autopilot. He goes, you need to kick it up a notch. And I think that, you know, one of the probably the greatest things that one of my coaches said to me that I was dead set against when I first heard it was, you need to get married. And that was probably, that's now been 18 years ago. And I can remember sitting in that mastermind group with some of the greatest people in real estate, like the Monica Reynolds, who runs MAPS coaching for Keller Williams, Chris Heller, who ran Keller Williams as the CEO and took it from 50,000 agents to 100,000 agents. Guys like Ty, who were doing 600 transactions, Stats Nugent, who basically he left and said, I'm going to make $1 million a month. And everybody said, oh, you're crazy. Within 90 days, he made $30 million on a project. So, big people. And I remember my coach saying, write out the 10 things you want. And everybody else was doing the perfect customer. And my mentor said, I don't want you to do customer. I want you to write out the 10 things you want a perfect spouse. So I wrote it out. I put it on an index card and I stuck it in my pocket and I carried it around. I looked at it every day, like he told me, because I was coachable. And I remember meeting my wife, and I remember going in the bathroom and almost being sick, going, oh my God, 1, 2, 3, 4. I got to like 9 and I was like, oh my God, I wonder if 9 is really good. Is going to be a fit too. We went to dinner, came home. And after, what happens after that, you start to do a little procreation. I went, number 10 works. So I think for the younger group out there, I don't think you hit your stride until you have a higher accountability, and whether that's for somebody else or something else. And in some cases it's both, and I think for me, it's obviously multiple different things that inspire me to get out of bed and get in action.
Well, you also mentioned, and it's all about your finding your why. A lot of people don't find their why, and you're young. You wake up every day and you just crush business. You don't stop and enjoy things, and then you're in your 30s and 40s. You're like, man, I don't have anything to show for it now, because you were just really had the blinders on, like you're on the horses. So finding your why, like I have, I every single day I want to give my best. I want to help as many people as possible in the world, and it's not even just for insurance. It's not for connections. It's not for fitness. It's just having conversations.
Yep.
And those conversations, a lot of times, I'm not even getting anything from it. I'm sending business to somebody else. People are like, wait, why don't you get a connection, get a partnership? Because I have this set up a lot of people will call me, why don't you have your license for this, or you can do that. Why don't you just get paid? I don't want to get paid, because if I start getting paid, now I'm feeding you. I want to get stuff in return as a recommendation, as a referral. And I like the word recommendation. I had a good friend of mine, Michael Carvajal, back in a few years ago. I've known him over a decade. He's a mortgage originator. Doing his office does 500 loans a year, and he himself does 20 to 25. And he's like, referrals come from barbers. They come from hairstylists. Recommendations, you're putting your reputation on the line. So be very careful how you're recommending other people. But then you'll get burned every once in a while.
I would take what you just said one level deeper.
Go ahead.
You're saying like, it's the barber, it's the hairstylist, it's the guy at the car wash. It is all that, but you know what it is? It's an awareness. It's helping people to understand what you believe in, what your intentions are. Be crystal clear about them. Don't be afraid of them. I will tell you, be careful who you share your goals and your dreams with. Probably, I had the challenge and fortune of my sister getting sick at 50 something years old. And I watched my sister fight with pancreatic cancer for 16 months. And one of the funny things is, my sister had the same kind of like funny kind of way of doing things that I do. And when she got stressed, she would make jokes or whatever. And I remember I thought it was going to be the last day. And my sister said, Sean, come here. Come sit on the end of the bed. And I was like, well, you want to go to the beach? You want to go somewhere? I'll rent the plane. I'll put you on my shoulders. I'll carry you, whatever you want to do. And she lived in South Jersey, which, she loved the beach. Right. So, and she said, no, just sit down and shut up. And I went, okay. She goes, I just think, what you need to do for me, because you need to make me a promise. And I said, what's that? She goes, don't let anybody ever steal your dreams. and promise me to stay fit and healthy for your kids. And, you know, and when I first left that conversation, I didn't really, I didn't really get it. It took me probably 6 months to really understand what she meant by that. And I think, sharing your dreams or sharing your passion is contagious.
Hmm.
And that contagion, just like a COVID-19, can be spread very quickly amongst people all over the world and all over the country. We now get referrals from, like, I coach with people that are in actually in the Philippines, because they have call centers in the Philippines. So I actually coach their teams. And in other spaces, I have people that refer business to me in here in New Jersey that say, I didn't know you did that kind of work. I thought you were just in the real estate space until I listened to you. And I said, well, yeah, I am. I said, but I also do this other stuff in the mortgage business and in the insurance business. We help teams like Sean and those guys to get their message carved into what I would call an ESO, or and it's called an explanation of services. How to explain, like when we first started, I didn't say to you, hey, we built a company to do real estate and we're going to coach people and give them a bunch of shit and they're
Hmm.
going to sell their own house. No, we didn't say that. We said that we believe that given the right circumstances, given the right tools and strategies, you can become whoever you want to be, and we're going to help to support that. And I think you did a great job at that by asking a lot of questions when you meet somebody, which I've seen you do, and it's awesome.
It's going deeper with others. It's not a transaction based type of mentality. You're going for the future. You're focused on that mindset, because you're not looking at right now. A lot of realtors, and we talk about real estate agents, they will, all they fixate is on their commission.
Yep.
If they fixated on a smooth transaction, because every goddamn transaction recently has been ridiculous. It's been, over promise, under deliver. That's what you should be doing. They're under promising, and things are going, instead of 30 days, 45, 60 days. I have
Yep.
policies I'm writing and then have to rewrite because it's not closing. And I'm like, if everyone in that transaction all focused on the smooth transition from each stage and have a great closing, we're all going to be getting more business from it. Every single person that touches that client is going to get more business because they're happy. They had a good experience. They're going to tell everybody. My attorney, my home inspector, my realtor, on both sides, the insurance person, the mortgage person, all these hands are now going to be fed because of focusing on that. If you focus on commission check, they know you're desperate.
If you focus, in my model or in coaching and working with people in my group, my industry, and different models and mortgage companies and stuff, I always say, if you focus on the outcome, you'll get more income.
Mm.
If you focus on the income, you'll get less outcome. And the reality is, you know, I've gotten better at in recent years. I figured out, like, one of my biggest challenges personally is being the inventor and being the guy, the doer, and not being the architect and saying, here's how this is going to work, and seeing it where most people can't see. The average person, if you show them a real estate transaction, they go, I can kind of see it. There's about 30 or 40 different pieces of it, and I can figure out how to put it all together, and we're good. And I say to people, if you're just looking through that lens, you don't see outside the trees, you're really going to get hammered. I said, so what we focus on is, you know, probably the best example I can give you of this, Sean, is years ago, my mentor said, call just listed and just sold calls around the building and tell people that that you just sold a property in the neighborhood and you like to help them sell their house. And I said, all right. So I did exactly what my coach said. And Barry Friedman, who may be watching this, I don't know, he's a very good friend of mine. He's been a dear friend of mine for 20 plus years. And I still remember it was the first high-rise building in Hoboken, which was 2 Constitution Court. And I sold one of the units in there facing the river in like an hour. And I called up Barry and I said, hey, Barry, how are you? My name is Sean, and I wanted to let you know we just sold the property down the street. He's like, oh my God, that's great. So we start talking. And I got off the script. And what Barry goes, oh my God. So now every 90 days, I would call Barry. And I did that for 3 years. And I got to the point with Barry that I knew he was getting married. I knew what medication he was taking because we both were ADHD. And he's like, well, I take this and it works, and you should try this. And I said, no, that stuff didn't work for me. What about you? And it still went back to, though, it all started with a conversation of, hey, are you thinking of buying or selling a home in your building? No, I'm not right now, but stay in touch. 3 years later, that phone call has now, over the past 20 years, turned into, instead of just one conversation and one transaction, that progression, if you will. The first time when Barry said, I'm getting married and I wanted her to come to Jersey, I need a bigger place. I said, great. We sold his place for $900,000. This was, by the way, this is 20 years ago. Okay. 200 100,000, probably, I'm sorry, $900,000. Sold it in an hour with my associate. I have my buyer agent show him a place for 1.4 million, which he sold him. So that conversation turned into 2.3, right? And do the math on that, whatever it is, right? What's interesting is 6 months after living there, and I told Barry, I said, you should consider a gated community if your girlfriend is coming from a high-rise gated, a building with a doorman and the whole thing. He said, no, that we want a brownstone. I said, okay, great. Calls me up and he goes, son of a bitch, you were right. He goes, they broke into the car out front. And my wife said, sell a goddamn townhouse, sell the house, and let's go into a townhouse community with a gated community. I said, okay, fine. We sell his place for 1.4. I sell him my neighbor's house for $800,000 and double in that. So that's 1.6, 1.3. That's two. That's 3 million, plus the other 2.3 million. That's 5.5 million, 5.8 million in, by the way, in 12 months. In the last 12 years, 15, 20, 25 years that I've known Barry, that has cascaded into, I would say, I figured it out once before. I think it was $320,000 in gross commissions that I've earned as a result of making the phone call to say, hey, I just want to let you know I sold the property in your building. I know you don't need my help now, but if you do, let me know.
That's
So
the power. That's the power of having those conversations, going deeper, looking for the future. Not just
looking
looking
at
for now.
looking at how not at the future, but looking at it, agreed that you want to look at the future, but future business. But if you look at them, there's a great book out. It's probably in my bookshelf somewhere. It's called Present Moment Awareness, and it's how can I help you achieve your intentions or your goals now without putting my hand out first. And there's there's a great exercise I use to train people when they're new in sales, because everybody wants to get in sales and go, we have this product and I could do this and I could do this and I could do this. And first thing I say to them is they could give a shit about
Yep.
what you can do. Tell them what you can do for them. Have conversations without using the words I or me. And whether it's and by the way, this is about dads and entrepreneurs, right? You know this as well as I do, especially because you have girls, right? Whether you're selling people or selling kids on doing their homework, it's the same process. I don't care who you talk to. And, it's like the coolest thing when your 12-year-old comes up and goes, Dad, I know we're not going to the pool today, but if we were going to the pool, do you think this bathing suit looks cool? Because if we were going to go to the pool, this is the bathing suit that I would wear to go to the pool. But I know we're not going to go to the pool. But if you had some time, and do you think this is a really cool bathing suit? Because I really like to wear this today. And I said to my daughter, I go, I've paid people like $25,000 to teach me how to do what you just did, which is called future pacing. you
Yep.
know, so
That is classic right there. Now, time flies when we're always talking, man. I always want to be cognizant of the time.
absolutely.
Some final thoughts, and I want to end on this is, what are three things when you think of entrepreneur, what are three things that they should be proficient at to be successful?
I think number one is, people like to be led by leaders, not by followers. So the number one thing I would say is pick your discipline, pick your path, and stick to it. And, I've done a lot of things and a lot of different gyrations of what I do, but the reality is, what am I best at is inspiring people to make a decision. Whether that's inspiring you to help people in the insurance industry, inspiring my team to help somebody in the real estate business, inspiring my kids to get up in the morning and go work out. And people, like a good friend of mine said, how do you, I can't get my kids to get up and work out. And I said, well, when was the last time you worked out? He goes, oh, I don't know. I go,
Yeah.
you lead by example and talk, and it's the expression of don't do what I say, do what I do. That's probably number one. Number two the difference between an entrepreneur and a business person, I believe, is learning how to say no. Being definitive and saying, I can't do that, or I can't help you, or that's not my job, but I know who to talk to, or I know who on my team should do that. And what and then the last thing is what I'm learning personally is as recently, there's a gentleman in my area. I'm gonna give him a big shout out. He's a great guy. He's a guy named Ken Barris. Ken Barris owns Barris Real Estate. He took over his father's real estate company. People say, well, he took over his father's business. Yeah, but his father's business is not the business that Ken has created now. And when you look at his business now, he's got several offices. He's in multiple towns, and he's a solid business guy. But what's interesting about Ken is we played golf one day, and he said something very interesting to me, which really resonated in my head for the first time in a long time. He goes, I was one of the architects of that model and that business strategy as one of Zillow's first 28 people on their advisory board. And he goes, we helped architect that model and that company, and then we architected this. And I took that word home, and I thought to myself, like, I've designed and created business models and platforms. I mean, I have a patent in my name in the U.S. Patent Office. So it's not uncommon for me to come up with something that actually makes sense. But the idea is, though, the reality is, by the time I get done taking that from concept to action to results, by the time I do it, somebody else has already done it at a much faster pace because they blew it up. And I always say to myself, oh, but if I only had the time. And the reality is I had the time. I just didn't have the right who, and I didn't have the right purpose. And I didn't have the right approach or the mindset. So now my mindset has become, instead of me having to go do it and prove it and show it works and do all this stuff and be the hamster on the cage, I need to be the guy who designs the cage. I need to be the guy who creates the vision and sell the vision to somebody who can actually help me to implement the who, that can actually say, here's the person we need for the cash. Here is the model for it. And by the way, we're going to put this person in place. We just need you to inspire, motivate, and passionately get them in motion. So I think, a entrepreneur's real job is finding the holes or finding the challenges in someone's or somewhere, whether it's your business, your life, or what I would call your equities in your life, your financial, your physical, your emotional, your mindset, your training, your contribution, figuring out where the holes are in that, and then figuring out how to plug the hole with either a who or a how or a strategy or a system that becomes duplicatable, repeatable, and as much as possible automated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what I mean by automated could be as easy as having a child. Because when you say to your kid, we're going to go to Disney, and then you don't do your goals, and your kid goes, hey, Dad, when are we going to Disney? And because you didn't do your goals, you can't go to Disney. It's really hard to tell your accountability partner, who's a 7-year-old, that they're not going to go meet Mickey.
Yep.
So.
No, well said, man. Well said. And I agree. Even if you take over your parents' businesses, they've done it their way. And that's usually another thinking. If you change the way you think, watch what happens. And that's what usually happens. Either they fail because they're greedy kids, or they are, a different breed of an entrepreneur and takes that business to levels those parents would never even achieve. So I definitely agree with you. I appreciate you sharing all this knowledge, this great information for those dads that are out there that are entrepreneurs or thinking about being an entrepreneur. There's every one of you. It's all about trying, making sure you get out there. You're going to fail. You're going to mess up, but you're going to learn. And we hope you learned something from us today. If you have, drop a comment, share the live. You're going to see bits and pieces of all the highlights in the coming weeks. Definitely reach out to Sean Shallis at 973-461-6955. If you need anything, you want to, friend request him on the social media platforms that this is on, please do. And we hope that you have an awesome rest of your day.
Thanks, Sean.
Take care, Sean.
Appreciate it.